morning, Dubai. Happy Friday. You made it to the end of the week. Welcome to the Lovin Dubai show, where we go through the top trending stories that everyone across the country is talking about. Our top story for you today, a UAE to Qatar road link is actually happening.
And a news debunked, the Dubai-Nepal flight was diverted due to the adverse weather.
An Indian minister shared a sweet in-flight moment.
And Fazah spotted taking selfies with fans and no guards in sight.
And do stay tuned because we're super excited for today's conversation. We're going to have expert tips on how to manage stress with a best-selling author, Alice Law.
And in today's rapid weather report, it's mostly sunny with 23 Celsius to 31 Celsius.
First of all, good morning to all of the commenters. Matus was the first person to say hi. Lance Luciano was the first person to give us slack, which I also appreciate. He said the intro was corny.
Why? It's upbeat, it's Friday, you should be hyped and happy.
Maybe it's the cheesy pics of us, which fair enough.
Oh no. Are you talking about our pictures, please?
Yeah, please. No, we appreciate the comments, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in. Big weekend for me this weekend.
What's happening this weekend?
I'm flying to India tomorrow for a wedding, flying to Chandigarh. And it's
I love weddings.
Yes.
I love weddings.
But I don't feel prepared for this one, and that's my only problem.
Why? What's happening?
Because there's been so much going on. Mm-hmm. You know, life
as
has
a guest,
been busy.
you know, like so much has been going on as a guest.
No, there's just been a lot going on, and I just hadn't, we only got flights last week. Mm-hmm. I hope the guests don't, I hope the bride and groom don't see this. We only got our visas yesterday.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God. Outfits. I went to Dubai at the weekend, went for a refitting also 2 days ago. And you need 4 outfits. You need 4 outfits, but it's amazing. It's been a lot of fun.
That's a full weekend, packed weekend for you.
Have you been to an Indian wedding before?
No, I've never been to an Indian wedding. But you're telling me the dress shopping was
phenomenal. Like, I wish I only bought one outfit. There's like a yellow theme, so I've bought a yellow outfit. But
how does it look? Describe it to us.
Oh, I can't. I just when I bought it, you know the way it's like maybe you won't wear it again. I was like, I'm going to wear it. I think I'll probably butcher the names, but the skirt I think is a lenga.
Yeah.
And it just flows. I tried on a couple. They flow so nicely.
Yeah, I know. And they sit really nicely on the waist as well. It makes you feel like snatched.
Well, I don't know about that, but.
No, it makes you feel snatched.
But I don't think I've appreciated how stunning. And it's like art, like you're going through all of these stores, and I need to go down again when I don't have Dale Miles. And
rushing you.
No, he was good, but all of these beautiful glitter tops, like it was impossible. It was impossible to choose. Oh my God, it was so much fun.
And it was so flattering on the body as well, by the way. Always. I feel like every single person that wears it, they look so good.
I'm so excited.
I know there are a lot of options.
But 4 outfits for a wedding?
I would love that.
Really?
Yes.
What's your weddings when Palestinians get married? What's the process for guest procedures and weddings?
We have multiple celebrations, but they're widespread throughout the year.
For a wedding?
So it's not, or like throughout the year or 2 years, depending on when they're planning on or when the bride and groom are planning on getting married. So
that's really enjoying your wedding.
You're really like stretching it a lot, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do.
Absolutely. But how does it work? So maybe like after engagement, then there's more ceremonies?
So first of all, we have the men, basically, they come to the bride's house and they officially ask for her hand in marriage. So like the family of the groom's side of the family. Okay, and we call this jaha. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's usually, at first it starts with only men and congratulating, like, yeah, we agree and everything. This is pre-engagement, still not engagement. It's just in the finalizing, basically. And then you can come down with any type of dress that you want. You can wear something traditional, or you can wear like a black tie dress, like it's fine. And then you'll have a dinner, abrit beit, where both sides of the family, they unite. Mm. And after you're done with that, you'll have an engagement party.
Oh, yeah. And how much space between all of these like festivities?
However you like. I'm gonna stretch it out so much so I can continue celebrating.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't stop there.
Oh,
and then you have a henna night.
Yeah.
And I know it's in both cultures as well. Like I know it's Indian culture, they also have henna nights, and Pakistani culture they have henna nights. So henna nights it can be 2 days before the wedding, a week before the wedding, or a month before the wedding.
Okay.
So this is purely traditional. So traditional dances, traditional clothing, traditional decorations.
Wow.
You can have henna. It's nice to like have henna drawings on your hand.
And does your full, because
It's expensive, by the way.
right, but I'm thinking like I'm having one wedding and guest list was a disaster. Do you have to do a full guest list for each of these events?
So what we did when my first brother got married is for people that, because during the wedding it's a bit limited, it's harder to get because you're both sides. During the engagement party, we try to invite people that would not be able to be invited to the wedding so they don't feel left out.
Actually. But like as in like colleague situation?
No, I'm
going to get invited to Nas's engagement.
I'm having a big wedding, so like.
But surely
be prepared.
that would like if
It's very costly.
if I got invited,
so
if you invited me to your engagement party, I would be honoured. Love to come. Thank you so much.
I would invite everyone. I'm going to have it so
But
big.
if you then didn't invite me to the big thing, I'd be.
I'll tell you, I'm so sorry. It's like numbers are so limited.
But you've been to my engagement party.
But
so
you've been, yeah.
Ah,
But doesn't stop there. After the wedding, we have another. Let's say like, there's a bachelorette party, of course, and then you have the wedding, and after the wedding, there's another celebration.
Oh wow!
So after you come back from your honeymoon,
Yeah.
we'll have another celebration where people come and congratulate you for being married.
Why not? I love that so much. Because it's just about like what is the most important thing in life?
Celebrating!
Love.
Oh.
Love is the most important thing in life, and then why not like take all like
Stretch it out.
Forget like your 18th birthday, forget your 21st. Like if you found your partner, your person, your commitment in life, it should be all about celebrating that.
Exactly. And then never regret it. Because I know some people regret it, but never regret it. It's really fun to
Never
celebrate.
forget every moment.
Never forget everyone and never regret it. Even if you waste so much money on that, it's still a very nice celebration. And hint, hint for someone who's sitting behind the scenes and watching. So having big weddings and celebration is really worth it.
Never regret the money, the dollars spent. Okay, let's speak about more stories related to a lot of money. That certainly will not be regretted. We're jumping into a new road link.
So a UAE to Qatar road link is happening. So no more long Saudi detours. The UAE has officially launched plans for a direct road connection to Qatar. So according to Mead, the project is called the West Link Project and will span 40 kilometers starting near Ras Ghumays in Abu Dhabi and ending at Maqsad Island in Qatar.
So this is a Mead exclusive. The highway is now in the planning phase with firms submitting designs, proposals and cost estimates. Overseen by Etihad Rail, the project will also include ferry terminal links, creating a smoother and more efficient journey between the two countries. Now, if you check the map out on this, it looks like it's going to make a big difference for trucks, not really for the likes of me and you, because we'd have to do that whole journey to the end of Abu Dhabi to get there when we could just hop on a flight. So this is great for trucks.
I know that Qatar is really close to us, but this might be cheaper.
Journey-wise?
Yeah.
It would save time if you're going to drive.
It saves time.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if this was available to us during World Cup.
How many people actually did the drive, though? Because you had to drive.
I know
through
my
Saudi.
brother did the drive. He didn't take a flight. He drove to Qatar.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
Why?
He's like,
He's
you
a
know,
driver, though.
He's a driver.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he likes his car.
God. And you know what he's planning on doing this summer? He's planning on driving to Jordan.
I love that road trip vibes. I really do. As in just for like with friends or solo?
With friends.
Nice.
So I think it's in a span of 4 days, I think.
Wow.
Or 2 days, I'm not sure. But it's 2 to 4 days. But personally,
Not for you.
I don't know how you do it. No. Is your back okay?
You know, though, the cars here are set up for those long journeys. Like, it's
True.
very normal for example, if you're driving, like families drive from Saudi to the UAE.
Yeah.
It's all set up. Like,
It's
the
all
cars
set
here are
up, yeah.
big. They're nice and comfortable.
And a lot of people said that it's not as difficult as it sounds, by the way. Yeah, he did it. He's like, it was cheaper for him to drive to Qatar than to take a flight during the World Cup because he attended a match there. And you know how the prices, they were so high.
So it made sense money-wise.
So it was much cheaper for him to get good seats.
Yeah.
And during
With his
the
friends.
match, yeah, with his friends,
And make an experience, an unforgettable experience.
Exactly, and save on transportation. What's better than that?
And also, when things are happening in the skies that make you uncomfortable, maybe you'd like to be in your car. This brings us nicely into our next story that made headlines yesterday.
So the rumor has been debunked. So Dubai-Nepal flight was diverted to adverse weather and not because of anything else. So a recent Dubai flight from Dubai to Kathmandu was diverted to Lucknow Airport, sparking widespread reports claiming the aircraft was low on fuel. However, the airline has confirmed to Khalij Times that the diversion was strictly due to adverse weather conditions in Kathmandu, debunking the initial misinformation shared by some Indian media outlets.
While several passengers expressed frustration over the unexpected change and delayed luggage, Fly Dubai has since apologised and assured that all baggage will be delivered directly to customers' homes. Don't believe fake news.
Don't believe fake news. And I feel like especially with flights and flying and airports and everything like that, because a lot of people are scared of flying. I feel like this is the most dangerous rumor that you can spread.
So true.
Please, and we need to be a little bit more cautious of where to get your information. There are a lot of trusted sources, but do not believe anything that you see online. And a lot of them are scammers as well. They have like a malicious intent.
So true. And it's so easy for these stories to spread. I mean, we regularly get messages through about specific stories that we ultimately, unfortunately, we have to question.
Yes.
You have to question where they come from because too often they've turned out not to be true.
Even community stories, by the way, I think they're just trying to get some media attention. I don't know for whatever exposure that they want to get, but you really need to be cautious of what we get. Like, why are we lying about such things?
Yeah, the fuel, low fuel. Imagine you're stuck in air. That would scare the life out of me.
You so much. And whoever came up with this rumor, you're so creative. What do you mean? We're low fuel. Let's stop by a petrol station.
I mean, exactly. So thank gosh, Fly Dubai were quick in the communications on that, and they were able to give us the real reason, which was adverse weather conditions.
So it's for your safety.
For your safety. Let's keep the news up in the air. We have a story about an Indian minister who shared a sweet in-flight moment that happened with a stranger. So this is so wholesome, but for some reason the comments are just not giving. So racking up nearly 2 million views on X, one of India's chief ministers, Himanta Biswa Sarma, shared a sweet moment from a morning flight from Emirates from Delhi to Dubai that was on its way to Amsterdam, where a kind young passenger gave him an international plug charger mid-flight because he didn't have one.
But here's the twist. The man got off in Dubai while the chief minister was asleep, and now the charger has flown all the way to Amsterdam. The minister posted a heartfelt note hoping the mystery man sees it and gets in touch so he can return the charger ASAP.
So it's basically like a cute story.
It's a cute story.
The guy, the minister, needed a charger. There was a kind person on the flight. The kind person gave the minister the charger. The minister fell asleep. The minister couldn't get his charger back to him, so he posted about it on Twitter.
Oh, this is so sweet, though.
So sweet, right? However, wrong. Twitter is giving the minister so much slack. And if you just
Why?
Because everyone is like, this is fake news. Emirates don't run a plane from Delhi to Amsterdam. You have to get off. Like, how are you sleeping? Like, there's no way you'd sleep through it. Fake story. You travel in a private jet. This cannot happen. There's just so much. No one believes the story.
Why are people so negative on social media? I can never understand.
I don't know. Well, we did talk just now about having to verify stories, but this is just a man trying to get a chargers are expensive. They're expensive.
Sometimes you forget your own charger. It happens. It really happens. And this kind man offered their charger for you.
They're saying it's because he fell asleep. Like, if a flight is moving on to another destination, you can't just sleep through it because you have to get off and get back on.
A lot of people don't get stressed over that. Okay, maybe you get anxious, I get anxious, but some people just don't get anxious. They can just sleep through it.
But no, but you know the way that you have to get off for. Yeah. So everyone's questioning that part of the story, that you have to get off for while the plane refuels, whatever it does. But the young man could have got off before the minister got off.
You never know. Maybe this person reached their destination first, and they don't have to take another flight. I have no ideas, honestly.
I don't know. Don't rip it apart.
Don't rip it apart. Just be happy. It's a good story. It has a good advice there.
They really pulled it apart.
Good moral story.
It is a good moral story. Like this minister, he tweets all the time. He's got 2.7 million followers, but most of his tweets get 20K, 30K engagement. This one got nearly 2 million. Could you imagine that? Like,
there you go. Silver lining.
No, but like the one
Engagement.
story where it's like, you know, I'm trying to do something good, get this charger back, internet, do your thing, and everyone's like, no, fake news.
Oh, God.
Pulls them down.
Anyways, I hope this person gets their charger back.
Me too. Or, I mean, a minister, you could probably just send him the money to buy it. That also.
That's a good option.
Let's move into our next story. Zaida Sheikh Hamdan spotted taking selfies with fans. No guards in sight. So this is the tweet that went through. He parks his car, he walks in and he says hello to random kids. This is just a simple moment, but it speaks volumes. We're of course talking about His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Crown Prince of Dubai, UAE Prime Minister and UAE Minister of Defence, showing once again why he is so deeply loved by the people.
This moment was captured and shared on Twitter by Hassan Sajwani, who summed it up in one tweet: no guards, no protocols, no closures. Dubai's Crown Prince happily taking selfies with the public, whether it's skydiving, checking in with frontline workers, or casually connecting with strangers on the street. It's a humility and approachability that makes him stand out.
And we couldn't agree more. I feel like it's just these small, unfiltered interactions. Like this just came through on Twitter. Someone just spotted it. Like, it's just these moments that show how humble the leadership is here.
And connected with the people they are. Yeah.
And connected, good point.
Yeah.
In comparison with
connected.
Other countries where I just feel like there's this level of...
like protocol, like strict protocols.
Strict protocol.
Where you have to stay away and the guards are in front of you. And I remember in the UK, they're always walking around with a lot of guards around them.
Well,
I mean,
no
it's
doubt,
it's like royalty.
No doubt they have it here as well.
Yeah.
No doubt the security is top class, but it's, I don't know, there's like this level of
connecting with the people.
Connecting with the people. And like you'll always see it. It feels like every now and then the leadership make an effort to connect with the people, raise someone up. So for example, you'll see stories of, you know, this man is doing really well at his job. They'll acknowledge people. Yeah. They'll visit local restaurants.
Supporting local businesses.
Which is so huge.
And like, if they post about, especially like small local businesses here, and if the royals post about it or visit it, this place becomes the next viral spot.
So true, because you're like, why is he there? I'm
yeah,
gonna go.
I want to go. What's the hype about? There's something really good about this spot.
I have so many restaurants on my bucket list because Zaida Sheikh Hamdan has been there.
Exactly. And
have you been to Ijaza? The stuff.
Yeah, he knows the good spot. Have you been to Ijaza?
Was this Zaida Sheikh Hamdan? No, but I know all about it.
Fazaf visited. It says that this is his favorite spot. So outside, they have multiple locations throughout the city, and in every location they have a poster of Fazad that he passed by. So they're very happy that he did, and they appreciate it so much. So they have a poster everywhere with his face saying like, "Oh, we were visited by Fazad, and we were really happy."
100%.
They were so super grateful for it.
Of course.
And people love Ijaza, by the way. It's such a good cafeteria spot. Honestly.
The restaurant that His Highness visited when he was in India last week, the owner put up a moment saying he's visited Dubai a lot. He never thought that, you know, his restaurant in India would be visited by the Crown Prince of Dubai, and he was just so touched by the whole thing.
I bet the restaurant is crowded so much right now.
I was like, I'm going this weekend, but I'm not going to be near there. I'll be going there. 8:48 on Friday morning. Do stay tuned. Our next guest is going to talk about stress management and how to keep it in check. Do stay tuned. Alice Law will be with us after this very short break. guys, welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show. Today we're joined by someone who's made it her mission to help people stress less and live more. Alice Law is a stress management consultant, author, and of course a Sunday Times bestseller. Whether you're dealing with burnout, daily pressure, or just need a reset, this is the conversation for you. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
We're excited to have the conversation.
So tell us more about yourself. How did you become an expert in stress management?
A lot of stress. I didn't think I was going to do this when I was younger. I went to do design at university in the UK. And then the universe sort of sent me to stress school, essentially. So I experienced loss in every aspect of my life, all continually one after the other. It was like financial, I lost my home, and most devastatingly lost my eldest sister to cancer. My dad became depressed post that and had a lot of business struggles, and I lost my relationship and my health struggled. And then eventually my wonderful dad, lost him to stress-related illness from a burst stomach ulcer. So I really at that time was like, I need to understand stress because everything was really outside of my control, and started self-studying now what I kind of teach in actual practice. And I was like, wow, these things really work, you know, whether it was like meditation, mindfulness, different things. Started to do it on myself and brought myself back to being more calm and normal in the way that I'd been when I grew up. And then, I decided to make it my actual mission, really.
Wow. Wow, what a journey. You had this entirely personal journey, so I guess at what point did you realise you could make it your mission to help other people? Like, how did you realise that you could actually do that professionally?
It was funny, actually. It was kind of another forced stress. I got made redundant when my old company that I was working for in financial services left the UK market, and they were like, do you want to come abroad with us? I was like, no. And they were like, what do you want to do? I was like, I still thought at the time, I had wonderful old bosses, and they were like, well, we'll help you set up your company, because I thought I wanted to do a fashion brand still. And then it just became so clear that actually I should learn and train in different modalities that I knew worked, from like mindfulness to EFT to coaching to meditation to Reiki, all these different things, and then put it together for people. And then I started working with private clients and companies before I met my now business partner on Unstressable, which is our platform, which is Mo Gaudat. And so that's why we wrote the book together as well. So
would you say that stress always comes from something that's external, or is it within us? How would you explain stress? What causes stress?
So stress I define as a disconnection from safety. So it's like that outside disconnection originally of something that makes you, your system essentially. It's a biological response, right? So initially from cave times, we were programmed to, a tiger comes out of the bushes, your stress response goes off, you're flooded with things like cortisol, noradrenaline, and it essentially reconfigures you to be superhuman, puts you into fight and flight so you can hopefully run away from the tiger and not get eaten. And then once it's gone, the threat, your system goes back into parasympathetic rest and digest state, and all is well. But that was then. Now, today, like, our system hasn't caught up with the world that we've created, this modern busy world. And so what used to set your system off for the tiger coming out of the bushes, you can now set your system off from an upsetting email from your boss, or you overthinking about something at night. And so all these outside stresses, whether it's digital or getting stuck in traffic, we have micro and macro stress, and there's a lot of micro in the world. And yeah, to answer your question as well, you can totally set your stress response off internally just as much as an outside stressor from your own thoughts.
Of course, we want to talk about how to manage stress, but I wonder if you could help us kind of pinpoint early signs of stress before, you know, we all have this, it's running around in my head, anxiety at certain moments, but how do we stop it getting to that point?
Yeah, totally. So I actually see this, because stress has been kind of given a sort of blanket term, like it's stress, it's a great thing to get people's attention. But in my work, I actually break it down into 4 things. Like, we're all 4 parts of the self: our mind, our heart, our body, and our soul. And each part gets stressed in a different way. So when you can notice those signs, and I'll quickly go through them, you'll understand how to actually, reduce the stress a lot quicker. So mental stress turns up as rumination. You're constantly in your mind, you're very unable to be present. It's like when you're having a conversation with a loved one and they're like, hello, where are you? You're just overthinking, worrying about the future, ruminating about the past, lacking focus because you find it really hard to stick to one task, and then likely waking up in the middle of the night with racing thoughts or having trouble going to sleep in general. So that's mental stress. Emotional stress is 2 parts. So a lot of people will say, I'm not emotionally stressed, but you will either feel a certain way or you'll behave a certain way. So feeling is things like feeling stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, easily irritated, low in mood, or even depressed, because we know long-term stress, chronic stress can turn into depression eventually. But then if you're like, well, I don't feel that way, I'm fine, then you might notice your behavior, which is things like numbing out on overwatching TV, Netflix, overeating, or losing your appetite altogether, dwindling memory, just forgetting like why you've come into a room or what you're doing. Then it's things like obviously lack of sleep, trouble sleeping again, easily snapping at loved ones. It's not because of what they said, it's just that final thing. It's like, that's the last thing that sets you over the edge that day when your partner says, where's the milk? You just lose it. So these are all, these behavioural changes. And then physical stress is really obvious. It's like we think it's nothing to do with stress though, but it's all the things like the tension headache you've had for 6 months. You think it's got nothing to do with stress. Digestive issues are a huge thing. Like if you're having trouble digesting your food or bloating, IBS, all those different things, stomach ulcers, a lot of tension in your muscles, neck and back. Then again, also things like inflammatory skin, so like acne or psoriasis, eczema, hives, all big signs for stress. And then as obviously there's the more sinister things like, elevated blood pressure, higher cholesterol, and also stress can, later turn into more chronic things like type 2 diabetes and heart disease. And then spiritual stress I see basically as a total disconnection from your own intuition and self. So it's that feeling of when you feel totally inauthentic and disconnected, you're constantly being told like how you should be rather than really living true to your own authenticity, and you feel disconnected from your intuition itself, or you are connected to your intuition and then you just totally disregard what your intuition tells you, and then you find later you're like, I knew I should have done that, I knew I felt yes or I felt no, and then you find yourself in a stressful situation later. So those are the sort of that feeling, those different signs of stress. And really it's like looking at, particularly if you are someone who is noticing the physical signs, I really urge people to start to do some practices to bring that down, because your body's a lot more resilient than you think. So if your body's telling you it's stressed, you've actually been stressed for quite a while, if that makes sense.
So do you think a lot of people talk about generational stress and anxiety? Does it actually exist?
As in, do you mean the difference in it coming down family
Yeah,
lines?
coming down, yeah.
I mean, it's definitely, we know this for example, cortisol. If a mother is pregnant and has super high stress, in vitro, and the baby will have high levels of cortisol when they're born. And you can also have, children's regulation, emotional regulation. It's all dependent on the caretaker being non-stressed and emotionally regulated. So if a parent is stressed, sadly their child will automatically pick up that stress. But if a child is stressed and a parent is regulated, the child will become calmer. So it's really, I always look at it as like, it is definitely, stress is actually biologically contagious. So we know this. If I'm around someone, and say you guys work together every day, right? If one of you's super, super stressed for a while, then cortisol, the stress hormone, will seep through your skin naturally and will set off the other person's stress response. So it's kind of like that. But we feel that, right? When you go into a room and you think, God, that person's stressed, and you kind of feel on edge.
You feel it, yeah. Or someone who constantly complains, I think, or is always constantly negative, It drains you somehow. Yeah,
totally.
It drains you.
Totally, complaining.
When you mentioned if someone is feeling the physical aspect of stress, that you would urge them to go to practice some techniques. But what if someone's feeling overwhelmed in a certain moment? So it's a specific moment that brings on stress. What, in that case, would you recommend they do?
Yeah, so if it's overwhelm in a specific moment, I always come back to practicing presence, right? So we can get overwhelmed in a certain situation, but then what will happen in that moment of overwhelm is that our brain will start to go into all the little anxious thoughts that, what's going wrong in front of us, when you need to actually really ground back into your body. So it's about taking a pause, like noticing, being able to pause in that moment. So just take a step back, take a pause, take a deep breath, actually extend your exhale, because it's when you extend your exhale that you tell your body you're not under threat. So you want to, do the longer exhales a few times, and then just say, okay, I always use this thing of saying, brain, bring me a calming thought, and actually tell your mind to choose something that's beneficial for you in that moment, because we have the ability to choose our thoughts and to tell our brain what we want it to bring to us, but we decide to just let it go on its own rampage, and it can bring us all the problems, all the worries that's not helping us. So it's just about taking a step back in that moment, taking a deep breath, grounding into your body, and then telling your brain, okay, bring me a useful thought, bring me a calming thought, bring me whatever kind of thought you need in that moment.
You feel like your thoughts are racing though.
Yeah.
Like every time you say that, okay, I need to think of something positive, immediately the first thing that pops in mind is something negative.
So that's why, yeah, it's kind of like saying, okay, so actually saying, instead of saying, I need to do this, it's like talking to your brain as if it was like me talking to you. So saying like, brain, do this, rather than like, I need to, and then it'll be like, oh, do you? You know, it's kind of goes on its own rampage. It's about being really direct with it, as strange as that sounds.
Well, one of those techniques you just shared, and obviously you've had your own journey. Can you share the specifics, tips that have helped you overcome stressful moments?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one thing people really need to realize, obviously, is that we can never change what we're not aware of. So if you don't understand where your stress is coming from, you can't change it. So I had in our book, we have a model in Unstressable that looks at actually noticing where your own stress is coming from, both externally and internally, and micro and macro. And then you can see, so it's like, okay, I've got, 17 micro external, which we call nuisances, for example. What can I do to actually limit, first of all, the needless stress in your life? So the stuff that you can control. Obviously, there's big things in life that we have no control over, right? And we can learn to manage our thoughts, but there's tiny little micro stresses every single day that we can cut back as individuals, but we just allow them. So an example would be, waking up to a really aggressive factory setting morning alarm sound in the morning. You can change that to a soothing alarm sound, right? I accidentally had a new phone the other week and hadn't put my soothing sound on, and I had that morning jolt, and I was like, God, the difference is actually huge. So it's like, and I'm a big sleeper of people thinking, I won't be able to wake up. I'm like, no, trust me. It's like getting something that will wake you up, but soothing. So basically limiting all the needless stress. So you bring down that threshold to something manageable, so you can go more to your baseline, so that when the things that you can't control, that you have to learn to manage your mind, process your emotions, calm your body, etc., when they come in, you're actually at a better level to be able to handle it, rather than already being at this level from all the micro stress having added up, and then it's like, oh, boom, when one thing happens. So limit the needless stress in your life, get really clear about, okay, what, can I put my phone in a drawer for an hour in the evening? Because that's so helpful. The average person now picks up, sort of taps and swipes their phone, 2,500 times a day.
Wow.
Which is crazy, right?
Really crazy.
And the amount of reaction you get from that, so much stress from comparison online or different things. So it's like just giving yourself that space for an hour a day, at some point in the evening. The world won't end if you have your phone in a drawer for 1 hour before you go to bed, right? But we have that sort of initial, it's like that dopamine hit of wanting to pick it up, wanting to check it. So limiting those kind of things, and then really looking at how you can start to manage your mind and process your emotions. I think that meditation and mindfulness have been a huge part of my life, in terms of actually being able to notice my thoughts and being able to realize that I wasn't my thoughts, right? And you can't, like you say, if that's spiraling, it's actually creating space in your own head to have a response rather than a reaction, and be able to choose again. So yeah, learning to meditate, practicing mindfulness, in that you just keep bringing yourself back to the present moment, because so much, and noticing your surroundings, right? Grounding yourself in that, because so much of what we, stress about is in our own minds. If you ask people today, like, what were you stressed about today? It could be the comment that someone said that you've then made a story about for the rest of the day in your own head, where that was 1% of your entire day, right? And that's not our fault. Our brains are wired to look for the negative to help us survive, to keep us safe. So we have like 80% negativity bias in our own minds. So it's really up to us to practice the opposite. So even having a gratitude practice every morning, that sounds so ridiculous, and a lot of people, I've heard it so many times. There's a reason, right? The studies that have been done is that it's impossible to feel grateful and stressed at the same time, or anxious and grateful.
Yeah.
And if you program yourself every morning, be like, okay, get up, I'm going to say 5 things I'm grateful for, and actually feel it, you will notice that your brain starts to look for more of the good in the day rather than more of the things to be stressed about.
Like positive affirmations in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for this. I'm happy for this.
Yeah.
You mentioned a phrase I quite liked, is manage your mind. And what you're talking is how possible is that for the majority of people? And like, in terms of your expertise, how long can it take people to reach that level?
So I think personally you can have a a shift in a month. You can have a shift in a day, right? But like you can have a good shift in a month. You can have an extreme shift in 3 months. And so my starting point for people would be, first of all, start journaling every morning to get all this noise out of your head and just onto paper. Like just write out all your thoughts, what I call a mind dump. And first of all, it'll help clear your mind. But second of all, you'll actually start to see like what you're stressing, like where are all these thoughts, what patterns you're going through. And then it's about really starting to notice when you're in a spiral, take that pause. And then if you want to tell your brain to bring you a useful thought, that's the pattern interruption. So you want to start pattern interrupting. Say like, brain, bring me a calming thought, bring me a useful thought, whichever it is. But then equally, I also use another technique of pattern interruption, which is just cancel. So it's just like if someone is, swirling around in their head, take that pause, repeat inside your mind or out loud if you're by yourself and it's comfortable, cancel to your mind, and then that gives you the space to choose again, but okay, what kind of thought do I actually want to choose? It's like going to the gym, right? And the brain, with neuroplasticity, what we practice gets stronger. So if you're practicing, stress and feeling anxious, that's the pathway that's getting stronger. So you need to start to sort of overwrite that with positive gratitude affirmations or a calming thought, or just telling your brain like, pause, choose this again, and that will eventually become so normal and much easier for you. You'll see yourself react and then stop and be like, what am I doing? No, I choose this instead,
I heard one recently on Mel Robbins' podcast, which I'm loving, and it's the what if. So something is going wrong and you're overthinking it, and then you go, but what if it's the opposite scenario? And I find like these techniques are so helpful in changing our day.
Yeah, we like to catastrophize, but really it could be what if the other side, right?
Exactly.
We follow the spiraling thoughts a lot. That's how we do it. I think even, I feel like maybe for women, if you think about it, because our cycle keeps changing, we tend to have like the luteal phase where we're stressing a little bit more. So would you say that men and women deal with stress a little bit differently or experience stress differently?
Yeah, I mean, women are more prone to anxiety than men. We know that from studies. Men are more prone to stress, but it's, like you say, it's in a very different way. And equally, a lot of men will feel physical stress before they've realised their stress, whereas women will feel those anxious thoughts and rushing around in our mind more quickly and notice that than men. So it is, definitely, it's very different, particularly as this is not a generalization, it's something that I've kind of looked at with everyone that I've worked with in the past, is that men will want to kind of retreat and deal with stress themselves and shut down and not talk about it, whereas women will want to talk about it and deal with it in community and stuff. So we are very different in that way, for sure.
How important is sleep, and also what would you recommend as the optimum hours? Like, do we actually need 8?
So it's funny, actually, new studies are coming out, which makes me happy that women actually need more sleep than men. And I've always felt that I need 9 hours sleep to be able to feel like really great, right? And so the new studies are showing that men need sort of 7 hours to 6, 7, 8, and women need 8 to 9.
Interesting.
9 to 10 even. So it's kind of, I find that really interesting. And that's purely like a bit more you were talking about because of our hormones and different cycles. So it's, we need more rest. But
and if we can't achieve those 9 hours, do you have any tips to help us? I mean, if 9 hours is going to make us less stressy?
So to sleep So for sleep, it's like, I always think, okay, you have to sort of treat your sleep like you would like a little routine. So it's like, okay, how to do things like, okay, in the evening, you want to eliminate blue light as much as possible. So that's the, the light coming from your devices. You can do this in one of two ways. Get those blue light blocking glasses. I can't even tell you how effective those are. Like, I got sent some the other day and I was like, okay, I'm going to actually start using these a bit more. And it would literally, by 9 p.m, if I'd had them on for a couple of hours, I was like, God, I'm really ready to go to bed. It really calms your system that way. And we think, okay, it's my device I'm on. It's actually all artificial light, so your lights at home will have a bit of blue light coming out of them as well. So at least dim your lights in the evening, like emulate that natural like sunset. So you want to, in nature, you wouldn't be sat like with bright lights before you go to sleep. So you want to like emulate natural light, dim your lights from, 7, when the sun actually goes down. Try to stay off your device for that last hour, 100%. Don't have your device in bed or in your bedroom even, like make that a device-free zone, and then have something like a hot bath or a hot shower before you go to bed, because although what you want to do when you go to sleep is to lower your core body temperature so that you fall asleep quicker. And while that might sound like, well, I'm having a hot bath, what that does is it actually raises all the blood to the surface of your skin so that you emit heat, and it lowers your core body temperature so you find it easier to fall asleep. And then, you know, it's like actually doing stuff like I love doing what I call like legs up a wall and back flat. So on my bed, sort of like up my headboard, lie with your back flat before you go to sleep, put some relaxing music on or a meditation, and just do 10 minutes of just lying there in that position, because what that naturally does is put your body into parasympathetic state, rest and digest. And again, that's the state you want to be in to be able to go to sleep easily and to get a restful night's sleep.
So lighting, it really does affect. Would you say that we have to opt for warm lights in our house?
Yeah, I mean, if you can change the bulbs in your bedroom to, you know, those like red light bulbs, that's amazing, because you'll immediately have that as a sort of, particularly as your brain will also associate that with relaxing. And a tip for people, if they wake up in the middle of the night and they can't sleep, if you're awake for more than, you know, 10, 15 minutes, get out of bed and go and like read your book on the sofa or change locations, because you don't want your brain to associate bed with wakefulness. So you want to like make sure that your brain is like, when I'm in bed, I'm asleep. So if you're someone who struggles in the middle of the night, don't sit in bed just like this, staring at the ceiling, because that won't be helpful.
So a lot of people have this habit of bed rotting.
Of what?
What is
Of bed rotting. So basically where you play a series for a long time, you just lay in bed.
Oh, yeah.
So experts have been trying to tell people that you need to avoid that. Like, bed is only for sleeping.
Yeah.
That's it. Does this cause a little bit more stress, like having sitting in bed for hours and just watching or scrolling through your phone?
Maybe working from home in your bed and then not creating that bed space.
Yeah, I mean, it won't cause you more stress, but it'll cause you stress in prolonged, like you won't be able to go to sleep as easily and you won't feel as rested, and your body, like, it just won't associate that with being a calm, sleepy place.
Like, oh, this is my resting time here, it's not sleeping time.
Yeah, because you want to get into bed when it's like freshly made sheets. You don't want to not get into bed at night. We're in this beautiful city of Dubai. It's a fast-paced city. There is a hustle culture. Everyone's working hard to get places. Would you agree that this hustle culture means we are more prone to stress living here than I would say living in the countryside in Ireland?
I mean, in the countryside in Ireland, yes. I think it's that, you know, in any fast-paced city, right? It's like whether you're in Dubai, London, New York, you're going to have a lot of just stress around you, like whether it's from people, whether it's from traffic, whether it's the hustle culture, like you say. So I think it's always about realizing that even if you think you're not that stressed, your system is, because you've put it in a fast-paced environment. So just every day doing 5-minute tiny techniques to just tell your body, you're not stressed, you're fine. So that is quite literally put a labeled, you know, calendar reminder in your phone 5 times a day, just saying breathe. And every time it goes off, do 3 long extended exhales, because as crazy as it sounds, there's even a term called email apnea now, which is coined, which is basically like when people are at their desks, they hold their breath whilst they're typing an email.
Really?
Literally
then,
me. I would say that's me.
Maybe we do it subconsciously without noticing.
100%, yeah, they don't do it consciously, but then what that tells your body is you're under stress because you don't breathe properly when you're under threat. So it's just even doing like 5 minutes of breathing 3 times, 5 times a day, just to tell yourself, okay, all is well.
Small things make such a difference.
Totally.
So what would you say is the best advice you could give someone who has a really high pressure job to avoid them from burning out?
So to avoid them from burning out, it's definitely making sure that you treat yourself for, okay, every single Sunday, look at your schedule and say like, okay, what's one thing I can remove so that I can make time for me? Because if you don't have half an hour in your week for yourself, you're doing something wrong, because that's also, first of all, you're not going to be able to like feel calm, regulate yourself. But second of all, it's actually a lie. Your brain is telling you, no, I need to do that. When actually in reality, there's probably, if you look at your schedule, 3 things you could push to 3 weeks' time, 2 things you could cancel, 1 thing that you could do for yourself. So it's looking every single day and saying, okay, where is the time for me? And making that so non-movable, like you would any important meeting, that no one, whether you have like, you know, an assistant, whatever it is, like changing your schedule, they know that that's non-alterable. And that time for you is a time for you to actually, you know, really either meditate, either journal, either sit with your body and actually like exercise, whatever it is, just something to regulate yourself in that moment. and then know that that is the time that no matter what happens in your day, you will have some space for yourself. Because even that in itself will tell your brain, okay, this is my safe space. I'm going to unwind in this time in whatever little techniques I choose to do. If you have given yourself no space and you're constantly on, all that is going to do is lead to burnout, because your body needs to be able to regulate itself if you're doing things every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And that includes even looking at your phone in that downtime, because that's still telling your body you're on. Put it in another room for that half an hour and just give yourself space.
Interesting. For parents who have teenagers who are maybe showing early signs of stress, what kind of conversations would you suggest in the household to kind of raise the topic, but not in a scary way?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of mainly with teenagers today, they're really suffering with anxiety more than anything else, right? And with anxiety, it's, first of all, anxiety is more about worrying. It's more about an internal response and projection of your worrying. It's not usually about something that's right in front of you. And it's also a response, it's an emotional response to stress. So it's looking at, okay, asking conversations of, you know, how are you feeling? And making that a normal conversation. Because so often I think, whether it's, you know, ourselves in the modern world, or whether it's a parent, whether it's a child, we feel like we can't express how we feel because growing up hasn't been a normal conversation in the family of just like, how do you feel today? You know, or how do I feel today? Do you ask yourself that, right? So making how you feel just as a question, as a curious question, a topic of normal conversation, rather than it being something like, okay, well, we don't talk about that at home, so let's just like, you know, not even process it. And for teenagers to actually start to, you know, if you can get a child into learning how to meditate at age 4, it's one of the most incredible things. You know, they do that at some schools in America where you can literally get your stuffed toy, and instead a child's never going to learn like, okay, quickly, like, you know, meditation in that sense, but it's like, okay, getting a squishy toy and just saying like, okay, breathe, when we breathe in, squish the stomach in, and then when you breathe out. And so it's like using that like stimulation. Doing that for 5 minutes a day with your child, making it a game and gamifying it is such a great way to kind of get that into practice later on. So when they're a teenager, they're already meditating. You know, it's a starting point then.
So what do you think of holistic healing?
I'm very into holistic healing. So I'm a Reiki master, and I love sort of all angles of, you know, bringing the mind, body, soul together. And I think, to be honest, we get the best results when we look at ourselves as a whole. And so things like energy healing, which is my sort of greatest take on those kind of healings, I've seen such profound results from it, from even like the most logical of clients I've had, you know, like super logical CEOs who are like, you know, I've never heard of that kind of thing. And it's like trying out these practices, trying out, you know, holistic healing practices, whether it's energy work, whether it's, you know, reflexology, whether it's acupuncture, just seeing the actual effect for yourself and then seeing if it works, because everyone's different, right? Some people prefer acupuncture, some people prefer Reiki. It's like trying out what works for you and then going with it, I think is really important.
Have you heard of ashwagandha? Like,
yes.
I took it for a while, but I took it not prescribed. Okay, would you advise people to do that, or is it better to get prescription from a doctor? Because I know it's a natural herb, and it's fine. Ashwagandha, it helps with anxiety and stress.
Okay.
So you have to take it for a longer period of time for you to feel it. So it helps you. It doesn't completely numb you. It just helps you feel less anxious and less stressed, and helps you feel sleep also.
This is not medical advice.
Not medical advice, but would you recommend like ashwagandha or?
I actually recommend you look at it with a nutritionist or a supplement person, because depending on what level of stress you are at with your body, you should either get ashwagandha or shatavari. So they're two very different things, because one's lighter, and you know, ashwagandha is a bit more intense. So yeah, it's depending on where you're at personally, for sure.
Taking unprescribed.
You know, I mean, you don't need to have it prescribed, but I think it's always nice to have advice on it.
Yeah, true.
I feel like we've touched on a lot of great tips today, so I hope people watching were taking notes. But if you could give one piece of advice to people watching today, maybe someone who's close to burnout, and you know, if they want to lower their stress levels this moment, what would it be?
One piece of advice would be, become aware of where your stress is coming from and limit the stress that you can immediately. And then the other piece of advice would be actually to just start to meditate for 5 minutes a day. I mean, that sounds so ridiculous to people because they're like, I don't want to meditate, I can't. But you actually can put your body, first of all, into parasympathetic state. But secondly, if you're even having trouble sleeping and you're feeling wired all the time, meditation will actually give you the rest that sleep can in a short space of time as well, in like little increments. So learn to meditate, get to know your mind, and limit the needless stress.
We should advocate this in schools, really.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time this morning, Alice. Really appreciate it. If people have questions and they want to reach you directly, how can they do so?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at alicelaw._, and on www.unstressable.com.
What a way to end the show this week. Have a beautiful weekend, everyone. Thank you, Masa.
Thank you, Casey.
And we'll see you back here on Monday morning, same time, same place. Bye-bye.